People hate me, still I give them love. And then I wait for them to change. Ramakrishna manifested the aspect of Divine Mother's love in Christ's consciousness. When even the word of Divine Mother was mentioned, Ramakrishna went into ecstasy. In St. Ignatius we find the epitome of will. A tremendous will was manifested by St. Ignatius, and God's great will naturally is found in Christ's consciousness. In St. Augustine we find a tremendous manifestation of intellect and reason, with this great difference from the ordinary intellects and those giants of reason is that St. Augustine's intellect and reason was impregnated with Christ's consciousness, with the intuition of Christ's consciousness. And in St. Anthony, we find the aspect of renunciation testified to by the tremendous trials poor St. Anthony endured. Now let us come to the part of our subject this morning, the mission of saints. The fundamental purpose of all saints is the same. The general characteristics of their mission is to influence human progress, to set the example. But greatest of all, the fundamental purpose of the saints is to show the way of salvation from delusion, to show the way of salvation. In the little book the Master said, on page 87, we read as follows. When the Master was speaking of the mission of saints, he said, could you or anyone else achieve God contact if generous masters had not been willing to convey their knowledge to others? Now, achieving God contact means that we have found the way to salvation, and that way is shown by saints. Coming now to concrete examples of the mission of saints, let us first take out the mission of the great Babji, the great avatar, who is beyond even human comprehension. Babji gave Kriya Yoga. He gave it ages ago, long before our time. And you will read in the Bhagavad Gita that he gave it to the rishis of old. And finally, as Lord Krishna, we read in the Bhagavad Gita, who was Babji. He gave Kriya Yoga to Arjuna, and then down unto the present time, through the different saints of India, the different great yogis. His mission is to keep alive that sacred process of Kriya Yoga, whereby spiritual evolution is speeded up so that man can comprehend, as the saints do, the presence of God within them as the Christ consciousness. In our present time, Kriya Yoga has been handed down through one of our gurus who received it in about 1861 from the great Babji. That saint was Laradimasha. It was his mission to hand that down through the succession, the link of the Master, Sri Kesarji, And finally, Paramahansa Yogananda, that all, irrespective of race, color, or creed, could, if they would, by the practice of sacred Kriya Yoga, realize, contact God within, the presence of God as the Christ consciousness. Another concrete example we find in St. Augustine. As I have said, St. Augustine, through his tremendous intellect and reason, impregnated by the intuition of Christ consciousness as it was a great influence on Western thought. Such men as Spinoza, we find there the underlying unity of religion amongst men. Spinoza's words, peace and equality by all men of good will, regardless of race, nationality, or creed, reflects the influence of St. Augustine on Western thought. And then again, in these words, the finite and the infinite are one in God. And now in our time, we have the ways and the means to make that assertion, that eternal truth, our own, by realizing that we are one with the infinite Father, our common Father. St. Francis showed fulfillment in human lives. In spite of all the reverses, the paradoxes, he found that there was one common bond of joy which dissolved all contrasts and contradictions. St. Francis, in spite of his weak body, was able to manifest the Christ consciousness even in the latter days of his life. Even when his sight was impaired and his body was terribly weak, still he manifested the Christ consciousness, showing that the joy and bliss of Christ consciousness dissolved all contrasts and contradictions.